No matter what type of person you are, life can humble you real quick. You might think you made it or whatever, and then you get kicked in the face and realize real quick you're not the shit.
We are normally not as good as we think we are and not as bad as we think we are at the same time.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by Unlocking Greatness with Jacob Emery, a coaching community built for those ready to become the strongest version of themselves. Weekly calls, proven playbooks, and a community built to grow. Greatness is not given, it's unlocked. Join us today at jacobemery.com or DM coach at jacobemery44 on all social media platforms. Welcome to another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you might want to get out pen and paper and be ready to take some notes because this story is going to be phenomenal today. But we're going to go back to 2018, and we're going to talk about where the story all began between me and my guest today, Wes Gililland. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jake. Glad to be here.
Wes is a very special person to me, but we got introduced by a mentor of both of ours. 2018, I'm going to take you back, Wes. Probably would have been June or July 2018. Mr. Jim Havens comes to you and says, hey, I'm guessing he said, hey, got two guys in this pipeline industry. We're going to help them work on this deal. I'm sure it was something like that. And then it all went from there. The art of the deal. Let's start with that. Let's start with the art of the deal. That ride was special, really special. If I knew half of the information that I knew today back then, we probably would have never survived it. Ignorance was kind of bliss for me. You guys understood it, but what scared us didn't scare you, and what scared you didn't scare us. We knew the operational side, you knew the legal side. Think about that deal, Wes. Go back to 2018. What does that bring back to you as I frame that?
Well, that was the first kind of deal that I did that I remember we came to your office to sign the deals when we were done. And when it was all done, I remember driving home and I just felt elated. Like we really accomplished something great. It was probably one of the first times in my career that I really felt like that. And it was just but it came through. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time Jim ever told me about you guys. He said, I met with these two young guys. They're not probably going to be able to pay us right now, but they're going to be special. And he said, we're going to work with them. And so, that was kind of where I first learned about Jake and Cody.
Well, and it was such a unique experience altogether because me and Cody were extremely green and unprofessional in general. We're trying to buy this company that's a fairly decent sized company. We have nothing. We had no money. So this was all strategy. 7K. It's on my Iron Infrastructure logo. That was my net worth January of 2019 as the last PFS submission to get the loan. I'll never forget thinking back at that. Logically, this doesn't make any damn sense for anybody to take on. And the art of the deal actually made it possible. But there was probably a 1% chance that it was really possible. We had a bank lined up pretty quick. Everything was going good. And the next thing you know, the whole entire thing pulled out from underneath of us, started over. What did you think at that point?
I thought I still had faith in the deal. I thought it was going to happen. I knew we just had to find another lender. Uh, we had relationships, with Union Bank, and I think those guys trusted us and kind of allowed us to vouch for you. And I always thought it was going to get done, and I've seen lots of the experience that you didn't have that I had at that point. Is I've seen a lot of these deals go that way. You face adversity, and usually if both parties still want the deal to happen, you can find a way to get through it. And I think it was Rick, right?
Yeah.
He was willing to kind of give you guys a chance and was patient. And so, we had, what really helped there is we had, two parties that were willing to work together, because when one party or the other decides and that's it. I mean, that's where the deal really dies. I still had still had faith in it.
I never lost faith because I mean, if I would have lost faith or hope, it would have everything would have been for naught at that point because that's all we had left for a while. I remember building the business while we're trying to buy it, while we're running it, getting it sellable to be bought all like at the same time. And that was the hardest thing. It's how do you navigate operating a business that you're green at running anyways, and then getting it prepared to sell because it wasn't ready, strategizing to buy it, and looking back now, it's like, how the hell did we actually navigate through that to that level of complexity at that stage in our career? And it's the network part of that. So show me your network, I'll show you your net worth. I remember the first time Jim said that to me, and I thought, Jim Havens, that's a masterpiece of truth. And it was because that art of the deal wasn't about me and Cody at all. It was really about you guys and the team around us. CPA firm that you brought in with Sam, it's about that art of the deal with the people that you can put in place. The network that you guys had was the driving force of that to be a success. Talk about Jim Havens. Man, what a special individual that Jim is. I've known him since 2018, like a father figure to me. He's told me things that would happen, and he's like, "You're going to do this, this, and this in the next 5 years." I remember, Jim, you're so full of shit. Oh, it's not going to happen. 5 years, he nailed it. Special, special human Jim Havens is. Talk about your experience with Jim as he was a mentor for you also for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yes. I met coincidentally Jim and my Jim's wife Monty and my dad actually went to high school with each other.
Gotcha.
And we got kind of introduced in a roundabout way, through Jim used to call it the Catholic hobbits. We went to Catholic
Mm-hmm.
schools, and everybody kind of knows
Mm-hmm.
everybody. But I was introduced to Jim through that network, and it was my last year of law school, and he took me to lunch, and I was going through a tough period in my life then too, actually, and he took me under his wing and gave me a job, and, I've been there ever since. He, the things I learned so much from Jim, uh, one one of the things I learned is how to negotiate. He I remember when I first started working there, I was negotiating a personal injury case, and I said something along the lines of to the other side, we can't, we're not there yet. And I remember he chewed me out for that. It's like, why would you say that? You're telling them you can go
Mm-hmm.
lower. But that was probably the single most important thing I learned from Jim, that I've been able to use in my career
Mm.
is the ability to negotiate, and that's really important. But he's mentored me in so many other ways. He's just been a very lucky I met Jim. Can't say enough.
He's been on the show twice. Him and Steve Lehman came on together one episode last year, I think, actually, which was amazing having both them guys on there. I would say for me, patience and presence would be the two things that come to mind firsthand that I learned the most. I'm very persistent as an individual. I've never really been patient until probably that moment when I met Jim and his ability to pause and articulate a thought in a short time frame, considering what comes out of his mouth, and then relay such an intelligent message. That negotiation tactic that you learned is probably very similar in the communication side that I learned from him, and then patience in general, because the way that he delivers a message was so profound to me at that time, where I'm just throwing shit against the wall. If it sticks, it sticks. If not, I'll throw something until it does. But when he delivers a knockout punch, it's just that. He just delivers a knockout punch. And he doesn't have all the BS around it. And he's very logic based. All the facts are there, information's there. He's not going to speak out of the left side of his mouth with emotion like I had done previously. Now I'm much more logical, focused on everything. I'm actually probably the opposite of what I was when meeting him, where it was 80% emotion. Now it's 80% data, logic driven. What are my thoughts? They're irrelevant until I have the data. Show me what logic is. Show me what the data says. And then experience takes over from there. That's how I kind of look at it now. 80% numbers, the numbers never lie. But then there's a risk component there. You have the information, then you got to assess the experience part and then your risk tolerance. The patience that I learned actually sped up my progress. And that was the thing that I was missing. I thought by doing more faster, being persistent would actually land an outcome quicker, but all it did was delay the outcome because I either made a stupid error or I ruined that opportunity with that persistence because it would be overbearing. My life motto, West, now is persistent patience. I am persistent in my pursuit. I am a fucking dog when it comes to being persistent, but I'm patient with the outcome because there's only one road that leads to that fulfillment or that success that you're looking for. It's the long road and the hard road, and failure is on that same path as success. And
Yeah.
it's the persistent part is always got to be there, but the patience to get that outcome over time is what really gets it there, and it's quicker than it would be if you didn't have it.
Well, that's how I mean, that's how people generate wealth, you know. They think long term, you know, and they, you know, eh, they don't go buy the sports car, they put it in
Mm,
a a deal or an
yeah,
investment. And
investment.
so I mean that's kind of what sort of successful people. You're right. I mean that's something that um, they have patience and they don't need immediate rewards, you know. So I agree. I learned, like I said, I learned a lot from him. That's another thing too.
It's delayed gratification. The compound effect is something, delayed gratification, just in line with that. It's one of the best skill sets I ever developed.
Uh,
Training, buying a business, 12 years for one goal to buy a company. 12 freaking years of 7 days a week obsession over this one goal got me there. It didn't happen quickly and it didn't happen pleasantly and it was not fast at all, even though probably by market standard, it probably was somewhat fast. But to me, it didn't feel fast. It wasn't fast to me. But knowing that it's going to take a lot of time and it's going to take longer than you could ever imagine. It's going to be harder than you could ever imagine. And it's also going to be so much more rewarding because of the person that you become. 12 years west for one goal, I thought I was going to be the fucking man after buying our pipeline. Put the crown on my head. I am king shit. And I tell you what, 2 days after we closed on Friday, May 24th of 2019, and that Sunday, I was absolutely gutted because I had no fulfillment at all. 12 years for that goal, and I felt nothing but empty. And I thought, man, this was my finish line, dude.
yeah,
Like I
just
got to the
started.
finish line, it was just a starting point. But I learned after time. It took probably a year or two after that. It's not about the accolade. It's not about the ownership title. It's not about the accomplishment. It's about the person you become that's capable of doing it. And that's where I missed that part. I didn't enjoy the struggle. I grinded through it. Man, I have such an appreciation for the struggle today. Gratitude for everything that comes my way on a daily basis. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's tough, but I understand it now and I have gratitude for everything that I go through.
Yeah, I have seen you develop. I remember the first time I met you. Actually, you said, "I'm buying this business before I turn 30." That's
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
And we bought it. I was 30 when we bought it.
Yeah,
That was the goal. And I was hell bent on it being before, I think. And
yeah.
we were closed. We were supposed to close before that because it was
Mhm.
January 3rd was my birthday. And we closed, a few months after. But I always said by 30 I'm gonna own this business. And for whatever reason I said that. Looking back now, it's like worked. It got me there. If I would have said 35, it probably would have been closer to that. But so in theory it worked, but it was fucking dumb. Why? Why by 30? What's that number matter? But I think having a date on the calendar, dude, that you want to accomplish something creates an urgency that you can't unfeel, unsee, unfocus on. I think that's why I did it.
No, I mean, you gotta deadlines like get shit done.
Mm.
You don't have a deadline; you just kind of sit there. Patience is one thing, but deadlines are what make the world go around.
That's why it's persistence first for
Yeah.
me. So let's talk about, you said deadlines, and that just brought up something that we were talking about before we started recording. AI deadlines. I'm someone that I probably waited too close to that deadline to start working on a project. You're probably someone that was way ahead of schedule, knowing your skill set. Now I'm just throwing it out there, but acceleration right now. We were geeking out over AI before we really started getting into it. It's incredible, dude. It's just phenomenal what I can figure out in a matter of seconds that would have taken me days before. So a deadline today looks extremely different because my deadline today would be a focus that is so much bigger than I could have imagined even 3 months ago. Talk about AI and the impact it's had for your acceleration.
Well, it's taking care of a lot of the mundane, time consuming stuff that I would do. To me right now in my life, the biggest, thing that has value to me is my time
Hmm.
because I'm running, a couple of different businesses, a 3 and a 5-year-old kids, a wife that needs
Mm.
attention, so to anything that can get me time is worth, you know, worth more than anything to me right now.
Mhm.
And so what AI has been able to do for me is shortcut a lot of that mundane,
Repetitive.
task that, would take up, time, and we're not actually, you know, making money or helping people. So, I gave the example of, one thing lawyers have to do, and and probably it's the worst thing, about our job in some ways is, you have to keep track of every second of what you do,
Mhm.
and you have to put it in, the time system, and, then you gotta send it out,
Mhm.
I mean, probably, you know, hour or 2 a day spent just doing
Time
that.
log, yeah.
Yeah, and that adds up, 10 hours a week, maybe more, and I've largely been able to automate that, and so, I figured that how to make that happen. I felt like it was like a new world for me,
Yeah.
just because it's like I found another half day in my week, but, things like that, it also it also enables me to focus on the things that really, matter for client.
Mhm.
I'm not sitting there typing some long paragraph or, looking for specific language. I'm in my mind now analyzing, how can I, strategically help this client,
Mm.
and that's freed up my brain to focus on that stuff. So it's a whole new world, though. I mean, we could be sitting here 6 months from now, and who knows what's going on with
Mhm.
it. But I think it's just, we gotta stay on top of it.
I agree. I think if you don't get on the train that is AI, you're gonna get left behind because of it. People that are fearful of losing their job because of it are unwilling to adapt to what's coming. That's the thing, like, in 150 years ago, people were terrified of automobiles until they got on one and then realized they didn't have to, walk or use a horse and buggy or whatever. Airplanes, same thing. It's an accelerator. I always reference going to strategic coach. I can get on United 54 minutes and in the air, wheels up, wheels down. I'm there. I'm in Chicago. My time it's an hour behind where we're at. The time is almost identical to the point of when I get to the ground, I've basically just had an hour of pausing because the
Mhm.
time's the same. I fly out at 10, I drop at 10, basically. It would take me probably 54 days to walk there. AI is that 54-day saving. That is the accelerator. That's how I look at it. But it's one that you cannot deny
Yeah.
because it is, I would say, it's the most advanced tool that's ever been remotely close to being implemented in our society. Maybe the plane, but how long did it take and how many people were actually able to use it at that capacity? This is something 90% of the world can use.
Yeah.
And probably 80% of my day is spent using it now, which is wild to think that it wasn't that way 6 months ago. That's all pretty recent.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, you can use it all day long and get 10 times more
Mhm.
stuff done than you used to be able to, so it creates it saves time though, but it also creates new,
Distraction.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, you can really get into the weeds on different things,
Mhm.
because it helps you identify issues that you might not have seen before, and then you got to go chase that down. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a I think I read something or heard something somewhere that, efficiency, it has the efficiency, but people don't feel like they're actually getting stuff done because they're able to handle so much
Right.
more, and people expect so much more. So I don't know. I don't think anybody knows how this is going to end up.
No, I don't either. Anybody that thinks that they know, there's probably 10 people in the universe that know anything, and them are the 10 that are founding basically this adventure, and they're probably still not confident in saying which turnout's gonna end up happening. It can also be as disciplined as a person as I am and as dedicated to my craft as I am, it can also be a distraction. Like a social media, like you get on social media and you're sitting there, you're going to the bathroom, next thing you know, you're sitting there for 20 minutes and not even realize that you've been scrolling through Instagram all 20 minutes. It can be distracting because it can take you down rabbit holes and give you ideas. It's not just a brain dump and then it executes unless you allow it to be just that. The human element of this is something that's unique because you still have to humanize the entry and not let it take you down another path. How you set up the instructions for it to navigate you. I've had to say to it, like at certain points, if I'm interacting for this time period too long, If you see my schedule is blocked out for this thing to be executed on, and I'm sitting here talking to you about something different, cut me off, tell
Yeah,
me, remind me. Like I've had to get really creative with my distraction or my obsessiveness with it.
yeah,
I mean, I'll be getting in the shower, I'm sitting there building out spreadsheets and dashboards and shit. I'm like, this might be a problem. A hyper fixation on it can also be a down spiral where what accelerated progress is also accelerating distraction. So you got to navigate it very, very carefully.
yeah. I mean, if you're a perfectionist, I may be that, I don't know, but you can keep toggling it,
Mm,
and it keeps making it better. So when do you stop?
mm. I am most definitely not a perfectionist, but I have a very high standard. And I think it could be a gray area at some point. I think I know what done looks like, and I think I want it to be at a very high level. High standards are something that I take pride in. Perfect to me doesn't exist though, and I've always felt like I knew the line between the 2, and sometimes, Wes, I wonder if I'm really on that fence because of that, where this should be good enough for this phase in life, or the progress for this project is right there. I know that, but I want it better.
Yeah,
And so, like, I know Steve Jobs is someone that I've studied a lot. I don't know if you did or not, but he had such a high expectation. Was he a perfectionist? I don't know. Was he? Was he not? At the end of the day, though, I don't know that anybody could truly say they are or they're not. Like, the difference between high expectation and perfectionism is really right there. It's really close, I think.
yeah, yeah. I don't know where the line is, but I think that I'm definitely up against the line sometimes because I'll obsess about getting things just right. That's uh, I guess that AI doesn't really help with that.
No. And I think the problem is it takes away from the accomplishment where you're only looking at the gap of what you want to achieve. And then it kind of diminishes that accomplishment when it finally does happen. I heard a thing the other day, and it was really, really powerful for me. This person was talking to someone else, and I think it was Gary Vee, and she was talking, and she's like, I'm gonna be somebody someday. And he's like, you already are someone right now. And I think what defines your life having meaning? Like, what is the thing that you're chasing? But also like having a passion towards something or a purpose and a destination in mind. It's something date on the calendar. We got to have it. But where do you draw the line at knowing that every day that you're on this earth has a purpose and a meaning toward getting to a certain place? But it's the journey that matters. It's the climb up the mountain to create the view that matters the most. It's not just the view. I used to say, if I enjoying the journey, don't just have destination disease. Because if you hyperfixate on that end, when you start out something, you have a lot of hope and you want to answer the question, what if? What if is the one question that I will go to my deathbed knowing the answer to. You have hope that this answer will give you that fulfillment or this thing. And what happens whenever you get there and it doesn't? Like my 12 years to get to R&R pipeline, I didn't have fulfillment after buying the company, and that was the lifelong pretty much pursuit of mine. So what do you do after that? That's Everest to me. Like, what's next?
Yeah,
How do you even come back from that? And it was very unique. Every day has meaning though. And like you're talking about time, time is the only currency that we don't have a dashboard for. Time is the only currency we can't check our balance on. We can't borrow more. We can't redo what we've already done. Our story, Wes, is wrote every day, and every day is a page in that book that we close out, and we can't go redo it. And time, the time part of that, man, it's limited. It's not unlimited, but we don't know how limited it really is.
well, you don't know how much you got either. You know,
Yeah.
any day could be your last. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I enjoy this struggle. I kind of take I got to stop grinding, but I enjoy figuring things out, and so it's so there's always I get joy in doing that.
Mhm.
So there's always something next to figure out. And I think you just got to keep challenging yourself uh, to to improve, or even just keep yourself interested. But I kind of hear what you mean. You have goals, and if you're keeping yourself on the right track, you start accomplishing those. And you don't always get the fulfillment you thought of it you did when you
Mm.
accomplished them. Sometimes I accomplish a goal, I almost think, oh, I don't even deserve that.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like
Yep.
I'm an imposter or
Yep.
something. It's a which is an odd feeling. because you kind of worked really hard for it
Yeah.
and you achieve it, but then you get there and you know, you almost don't feel like you earned it. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if you have ever have that feeling.
I understand exactly what you're talking about, and I've had a lot of people that I've helped coach, like, say that to me. "Oh, I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve this." The reality is you deserve everything you have, good or bad. You earned it, good or bad. You desire things that you do not yet have, and you have to go earn them to get them. Good enough, though, is just a reality check. Look at your resume. What's the proof that you have built up to say that you do or do not? And then that's where you have to just take that humble confidence approach and say, "You know what? I accomplished this, this, and this. I am that guy." Good enough to me is just a reality check of what you've already kind of accomplished. And I think there's two types of people in this world. There's the one that undervalues himself and they don't believe in them as much as the people around them do. And then there's one that is that outspoken, arrogant person who arrogantly says it's ego driven. They say, I've done this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but they haven't actually accomplished any of it. And then I think there is that third person. It's the one that actually knows who they are. It figures it out. They are level set with their competence and their confidence, where they have true like self awareness alignment. And I think that's where like that third phase of growth really happens, where you just really figure out who the hell you are. And you don't let everyone else around you tell you who you are, whether good or bad, but you also let that narrative come in because the people that are around you are trustworthy enough to give you the right direct response to that question. Because it's hard. People are going to fill you full of shit for their own wants, or they're going to downplay you because they're insecurities. And finding someone that will tell you directly and honestly what it is because of their experience already being there in that place, like a Jim Havens. That's a special person.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that sometimes happens, no matter what type of person you are, is life can humble you real quick. You know, you might think made it or
Huh,
whatever, and then you get kicked in the face, and you realize real quick you're not not the shit.
yeah. We are normally not as good as we think we are and
Yeah.
not as bad as we think we are at the same time. Like, I think that I'm never great and I'm never bad. I'm always good. I just try to keep it good no matter how the perception of that is. I try to stay even because tomorrow's stress cannot take I cannot let tomorrow's pain take my peace today. I have to let it be tomorrow. But tomorrow's perception of pain could also be the pressure relief that I've been looking for the last year didn't have in
Mhm.
place. It changes one phone call, Wes. One situation could change all of it. And it happens every time. The cycle is the same. Right when we're 3 feet from gold, I think, is when we want to crack and give up and quit. The results that we're looking for, though, are on the other side of resistance to that. If we just don't quit, we're going to get it. So if you just keep going, you're going to win no matter what. The
Yeah.
results don't have a choice at that point. You're gonna fucking win. You just can't quit. But that's not always easy to do.
No, I mean, but well, once you have a family and kids, though,
Mm.
it's like you don't really have a choice anymore.
The only way is through.
You kind of have, it's not about you at that. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at in life a lot. Is I almost feel like it's not about me at this point. It's kind of what I'm doing is for them,
Mhm.
and I think that that's I'm sure like how people have felt all throughout history.
Mhm.
Kind of what makes the world go around a little bit. But
It's bigger than just you,
yeah,
right? And that creates another level of urgency to it. And now let's transition into who is Wes because the untold story is the story that is bad. The only bad story I've ever heard is the one that I've never heard because everyone's story is special. And it really, when you finally tell your story or when someone finally gets out and shares the message that was their mess, my mess is now the message that inspires people. My survival guide is something that now was my like pain, my agony, my setback. Your setback could be a survival guide, dude. And then everybody has struggle in life. The ones that don't ever talk about it, though, are the ones that don't realize it's not about them. I tell my story today, and I tell people about how screwed up I've been and how many messes I've had, and dead or in jail by 21. Like my story's not cute, it's not pretty, and it's helped a lot of people. It's not about me. It's about how many people I can help go through that much quicker than what I did. So West Gilliland, who the hell is West Gilliland? You went to High State, you went to Capital, you went to Bishop Watterson High School, right? Then went to High State, main campus, I'm assuming,
yeah, I mean,
and then you went to Capital for your law. Talk about that experience and what it did for you going from that high school through college for 6 or 8 years, probably. I don't know how long you
Uh,
went, but I'm assuming 6 or 8?
yeah, so, high school, I probably thought way too highly of myself. Watterson was a football
Mhm,
school. We won the states when I was there, and I only, say that because you go from that environment to Ohio State where there's, 50,000 people, you find out real quick, you're not as cool as you thought you were. So I remember that distinctly. You know, and that kinda had, I just I wasn't didn't have a as close knit group of friends necessarily. People didn't know who you were,
mhm,
and you just weren't that important. Anyways, so that was kind of my high school transition into college. I just remember I realized that I had to learn a lot about myself and my importance.
mhm,
But then when I got there, I remember the first quarter of Ohio State. I got something like a 2.1 GPA. And, I so, something clicked at that point. And the next quarter until I graduated, I almost, all like 4.0. And so, uh, that was, that what that taught me is that if I, set my mind to something, then I can do it because,
mhm,
there's not, that's a clear, effort and result.
mhm,
And then, so then once I was done with college, my dad always used to tell me, you got to go to 10 years of college. So he always imprinted in my
mhm,
brain that I wasn't, going to go, was going to go to college and try to get some advanced degree. But, I didn't know what I wanted to do actually. And so I looked into optometry school. My dad was an optometrist. I didn't really like, the science part of it necessarily. I looked into engineering and then, I settled on law
mhm,
school and, I got into capital. I got a pretty significant scholarship. I was you know, afraid to go too far away from the nest. So I stayed here in Columbus
mhm,
and, law school, there was a lot of temptation in law school. So, I had to kind of, uh, and I wasn't necessarily on the straight and narrow. And so I kind of had to, uh, you know, humble myself and just kind of stay away from the temptation and focus on school. That's I guess that's my educational story in a nutshell. I graduated, in 2010. I was, really high in my class. I did really well. Jim Havens found me. That's my life in a nutshell, I guess.
Well, I mean, think about it. One of the questions that I ask people all the time, have you found the life-changing opportunity yet? Like that life-changing opportunity. And if you haven't, how much time do you spend every day searching for it? And if you can't say yes, I found that opportunity has been in front of me, I took full advantage of it. Because you know right away. That life-changing opportunity for me was sitting in Jim's house in his little study area, me, Cody, and Jim, and he's talking to us like we're equals. And he's like, "I wanna work with you guys, I wanna see you win." And Cody's like, "Jim, elephant in the room question, like, we cannot afford your service." And he didn't even let Cody finish. He said, "Boys, you could pay me at closing." Life-changing opportunity, sign me up right there. And it was, and that literally changed my life. That moment that he said that, my life has been forever different, and there was 0% chance it would look at the way it does today had that moment not happened. And for him just to say that, like it truly created that life-changing opportunity. That was that person. That was the who that was needed to get there. And I don't know if it was like that for you when you first met him, like a rocket ship. Just like you see the world different. The way that the viewpoint that you have going into that is like you got glasses on, you got blinders on. After that, it's like they come off and it starts expanding all day, every day.
Yeah, I think that moment kind of happened recently with me, actually. We just, Jim, was transitioning
Mhm.
into retiring, last year, and somebody had to kind of, step up. There was build
Mhm.
a great thing, um, but somebody had to step up. There's a lot of great people around me. His son Joe stepped up. We own a we have a title company, a law firm, and property management company. So I embraced that opportunity, and it took over the firm. It's just kind of an opportunity that I was able to take advantage of,
Mm,
and it hasn't been easy. My wife and my kids miss me. It's been I work you know, 12 hours a day, sometimes 15 hours a
mhm.
day. Kind of the buck stops at me now.
Yep,
The work is there whether I'm there or not. So I got to just get it done
yep,
and grind. But, it's starting to see, success. The law firm is busy, clients every
mhm.
day. So it's kind of, rewarding in that sense because, I mean, I'm working really hard, but I'm seeing the results. So yeah, I mean, it happened later in life than
Yeah.
me, and so it's kind of you gotta recognize those moments and take advantage of them.
Well, first, you created that opportunity. That was not something that there was no provided given, it was created by you. So don't ever downplay yourself for that because I've seen you in the trenches there. For 4 or 5 years before that happened, however long it was, like you created the opportunity over time, diligence, effort, energy. Like you went all in for that. We attract success. We can desire it all day, but the person that we become, the standard that we live by, the things that we do are the things that attract the success that we accomplish. Goals are amazing. I think goals are something that you gotta have. You gotta have direction in life, but that's kind of what goals are to me. It's really the standard in which you live by. Like you talked about not living on the straight and narrow, and then you course corrected and you got your life right. When you did that is when your goals were all accomplished. Probably weren't accomplished before that. James Clear in Atomic Habits, one of my hands down number one recommendations for anything personal development. We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And having a standard in place, a system in place, and having something in place that allows you to become successful will be the thing that allows the goal to be accomplished. The goal being set does not accomplish anything. It is nothing more than a desire until your standards say that you can go earn it with what you do. Show me your calendar, show me your schedule. This is something that I coach in my coaching program. I'm like a third grader, dude. Like legit like a third grader. 8 years old or 80 years old, like I need some crayons, a piece of paper, and I can sketch something out, and I wanna deliver that to show how simple something can become. The 3S solution: simple, schedule, stakes. Trying to accomplish something. It's the goal. Sure. Keep it simple and specific. How clearly defined is that thing? It's black and white, there's no gray. It's yes or no, there's no maybe. Like, you have to have it very specific, so keep it simple. How much time are you allocating every day at the beginning of your day at the best time for your cognitive function to be in place? Priority blocks, what I call it. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. almost every day, priority block. What's the priority? Block out my time for that. My schedule shows you what my priorities are. And the last one is the stakes. So you got the simple, the schedule, then stakes. What do I get if I accomplish this thing? If I want to lose 20 pounds in 30 days, at the end of 30 days, what is my reward? Not just the weight loss, but what am I going to do for myself? I'm going to go buy a nice steak dinner, whatever. If I don't accomplish it though, so what if I do accomplish it? What if I don't? And that is the accountability that a lot of people don't have. If I don't do that, I'm going to shave my head. I got to shave my head. And I'm going to take a permanent marker and put a fucking dolphin on my forehead. So everyone's going to see me bald with a dolphin on there for a couple weeks. It's not going to kill me, even though I might want to be dead, but it's going to be something that I remember whenever I want to quit. And so something that basic, putting that thing in place to go accomplish that. I think we have a focus issue today more than ever. Finish one course until successful is what focus means to me. What is your priority? And nothing else matters until that's done. That is extremely hard because I think we sacrifice what I think we're more prone to do what feels urgent than what's actually important. We get wrapped up in the fire to put out the urgency of this moment, and then our judgment doesn't allow us to focus on the important thing. And especially when we get into that business ownership level, everything's urgent. Nothing's important until one thing has to be important or else you don't have a business. The biggest risk in business is not being in business anymore. So sometimes it's focusing on one thing and that's it. And everything else is we have a kitchen fire right here. That dumpster fire can burn for a while, but that kitchen's on fire. That stove's hot. That house is going to burn down, but that dumpster can burn for a while. So what's important, what's urgent. Getting just clear on what you're focused on, what's the most important, and then not just going through life by default, but by design. Designing your life the way that you need to be successful because of your standard that's in place. It's really hard to do that though. It's so hard to, I think 6 years in, whatever it is now, it's like the hardest thing is just to know exactly what the most important thing is. First principles thinking, the theory of constraints are my two like favorite like thought processes. First principles being the main one. I call it prosperity principles. I created my own coaching frame around it, but you have to get down to the nitty gritty. What is the number one thing that matters? And what's the core of that? And then how do you take the constraint and then add creativity to it and change the course of your business forever because of that? Dude, it's fucking hard though, Wes. It's so hard.
I'm not there yet. I'm right now, it's like drinking out of a fire,
Mhm.
You gotta, you gotta hit deadlines
Yep.
and you gotta get it done.
Mhm.
If I can get there, that's when I think I'll really be able to, you know, make leaps and bounds
Mhm.
progress. But, you know, that's a, that's a struggle. And, I'm trying to, I'll have to learn some things from you if you figured it out.
You've figured it out already. You've got a lot of good people around you. I think the most important thing is having the right people in the right seats. If you said what's the number one thing to be in successful in business, it's the system that you create, yes, but it's about the people. I think building a system for success is something that is hard, but building a system for success that has people that are excellent within that system is the hardest thing that you do. And Dan Martell always says billionaires create people. They focus on people, like developing the people. They already have all the systems worked out. Millionaires focus on systems. And so, like that next level to be a billionaire, you have to focus on the highest level people that work for you that have already created all the stuff that millionaires do to go to that billionaire level. I got a couple quick fire questions for you, Wes. I'm
Right.
gonna see if you're up to pace on this. But if I said 1,000,000 seconds is how many days, what would you say? So 1,000,000 seconds equals how many days? It's 11 days. It's less than what you think, right? So 1,000,000 seconds is 11 days. How many days would a billion seconds be?
So it'd be 1,000. So it would be 11,000 days.
31.5 years.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. You're right on track here. Think about that difference. To get from a million to a billion is the difference between 11 days and 31 and a half years. I heard that 3 or 4 years ago for the first time, but I never really paid attention to that until recently. Think of how gradual it is for us to achieve anything. It's like it's flatline, barely going up at all, compound interest,
Uh,
your investment. And one day you turn around and your net worth 10x's in a year. Like whatever it is, that one deal that lands, that one thing that just skyrockets, that closing on our pipeline, that big, big accomplishment. It took 12 years to do it, but it happened in a matter of 12 minutes.
yeah,
And it's like it all comes back eventually. But so many people never see that because they quit.
you're absolutely right. I mean, we do a lot of real estate investing. It's part of what we do. And, you grind and you're looking for deals, you make your connections and then, one day the perfect deal comes across your desk. And it might not be perfect for everybody because everybody doesn't know how to execute,
Great point. Yeah.
but you have your skill set that you can make this deal work. You have the credit to get it done, or you have the legal knowledge to navigate an
hmm
issue that would turn somebody else off, or or you have a connection to a potential tenant that,
hmm
and you can put that together, and you spent 10 years building up like I said, the relationships, your skill set, and then that deal comes across your desk and you can
hmm
like you can on it. I think that's what you're getting at a little bit. That's kind of how it works in my world.
Well, you develop a skill set over so much time and then you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
But then you do. I think one of the biggest learning lessons I ever had was I undervalued myself for years. That's probably been the main thing in my life is I have always undervalued me as a person for whatever reason. I don't know, but maybe because everyone around me did for the most part up until like a Jim Havens or a Corey Gregory, Dr. Eric Serrano, some of my main mentors that seen something in me that no one else had ever remotely said that I couldn't see myself. But you realize 99% of the time, what everyone thought about, like for me, 99% of the time, dead or in jail by 21, everybody was right. The world was right about me for a majority of my life. I was a dipshit. I was fat. I was out of shape. I didn't deserve to have anything because I never applied myself. I was a out of control 16 to 20-year-old, out of control, buck wild. Straight and narrow would not even describe like the incompetent person that I was at that age. But I wasn't ready for becoming the person I am today because I didn't know it was possible. I was taught that you don't fit this box, this narrative. I'm not going to go to college. I'm not applying myself and I'm not intelligent enough. I'm never going to make it through college. I'm going to go work and make $20,000 my first year of work, maybe. But I would rather do that than spend 20 grand to go do something I already hate and just hate it more. I don't need more responsibility of going to school. I'm actually held accountable in high school and college. You have to hold yourself accountable. I'd already been there partying for 2 years. I'm never going to survive it. I know that. 20 years old, dude, the world was right about me. Dead or in jail by 21 was probably my likely outcome. And it changed like in an instant. It just overnight changed. Not the result, but the internal like self-worth. Not that I had that self-worth, but I realized that it was possible. And I started changing the bad habit for the good habit 20 minutes a day, maybe. Instead of going to happy hour, I'm going to go listen to Think and Grow Rich on audio and walk on a treadmill at night. That was the main shift I did 4 or 5 days a week. That shift changed everything. But 99% of the time, the world was absolutely right about me until at one time, at 1% chance, Jim Havens believing in me, you believing in me, Sam McGresky, the people that were on that team at that point saying, I think these guys can do it. That one win was all that it took for me to realize I was 100% right the whole time.
Yeah.
I just hadn't accomplished it yet. So it was like that 12-year journey. What I didn't realize that day after, the 2 days after buying R&R, the thing I didn't realize, I was gutted because I didn't appreciate the journey. And I also didn't feel worthy of actually accomplishing that thing. And so like that day, I didn't realize that I was actually right the whole time that it was possible. The people that always said it wasn't, play it safe, don't do that, you're going to risk it all, you're going to lose everything. I didn't have anything to fucking lose, Wes. That was the thing about it. There was nothing that could be taken from me. My dignity, my pride, had none. What else you got? My house? Cool, buy another one. File bankruptcy? Fuck off, who cares? What's the worst case scenario? I have to go live with someone else for 6 months to get on my feet? I'll take that risk every day. But I didn't have that self-worth and that recognition of it. Now I understand fully where I'm at in life, who I am, what I want, that self-awareness. So back to that. As you've transitioned from working in a law firm, dude, you were successful your whole life, it sounds like, but you didn't appreciate it or have the gratitude, or you're not aware of it. Maybe not even yet. You've always been successful, but having the gratitude and the understanding of it's hard at some point because it's not downplaying what you've done or overstating what you've done. It's not downplaying what you want to do. It's about like today's a good day. Appreciation for today because of what I've done, good and bad, because what I've done has led me to this path, whatever it is, good or bad. But I would say you're proud of who you are today, right?
Yeah, there's always room. I feel like I don't have a lot of regrets. I feel like you know, I I applied myself reasonably well that I'm not looking backwards and saying I should have done this or I shouldn't done that. I think a lot of times, so maybe some other people believe in me more than I do. I I've worked hard and I feel like I've tried to do the right thing and I think it's you know paying off and at least as far as business
Mhm.
wise. So yeah, I can't point to one moment um like that, but it's been it's, you know I always I can work harder than anybody, but I can't like work smarter necessarily.
Mhm.
So I may keep going on a tangent here, but that's kind of the I feel like my hard work has paid off.
You should be fucking proud of yourself if you're not, like, at a very high level. I would also say that you probably undervalue yourself some, because what I see in you and what you display is your own value or not remotely close. Borrow my fucking confidence and my arrogance if you need to. I'm telling you right now, you should be fucking proud of who you became because I don't know your full story, and although it looks really good on paper, I would say you have that bad side of you or that dark side of that time where it could have easily went the other way, but it didn't because you didn't let it. And so I had someone say something to me once, and they were referring to the podcast, and they're like, you kind of talk about yourself a lot. I'm like, yeah, maybe. Like, I'm proud of what I've done. You know, I'm not scared to say that. And they just kind of shook their head and they looked confused. And I said, are you proud of what you've done? I don't know. I've never thought about it. I said, if you're not fucking outspoken about your accomplishment in a way to help other people, then how do you help other people? A, and if you were trying to be a leader and you're not able to be confident in what you've built and what you've done, tell your mess to give your message out to inspire other people. Doing it for the right reason. You're not boasting to say, I'm the fucking man. You're trying to tell a story of what's possible because of what you've done to inspire other people. If you can do that and be transparent with it, you can lead other people and inspire them to do better and believe in themselves the way that someone did that for you. So you have to be proud of yourself because if you're not, how's anybody else going to be proud of yourself? Like, how's anyone else going to look at you and say, I'm proud of that person or I'm inspired by that person if you're not? And I know you are, but I'm just saying this to reiterate be fucking proud of yourself, dude. You got to be proud of yourself because now you're leading some people. Dude, you're doing some big shit, Wes. Don't downplay it. Don't understate what you put out there in the world and what you're doing for the world. And I would say if Jim Havens was sitting between us right now, he would say the same thing because that's what he told me.
Well, I mean, I got a lot to learn. You learned some things from me. I got a lot to learn from you. Yeah.
I've learned a lot from you. I appreciate you. I mean, you're my CYA. You're my CYA guy. You always are covering my ass, and you have for years, and I cannot thank you enough for that. It's been really interesting to see your growth because I always thought of you as this highly intelligent person, very methodical with the deliverable, very, very focused on your message is always amazing. Like when you write something, I know you've wrote a lot of articles and done a lot of things with journalism, maybe is that the right word?
not not really newsletters, things like that. Yeah.
Jim used to speak very highly of that. I know you're in the investment side of it, for years. You're building a network to develop net worth is what you're really. I mean, if I had to describe what do you do, I would say you're building a network that expands net worth, right? That's how I would look at it. In the simplest form. And you build network through partnership with people that you believe in that believe in you. And it's a really interesting model that you guys have because it's such a profound thought that you don't just represent people. You do so much more than that. You want to see people win, not just as representing them for this one off. You want to see them win at life with everything that they do. Talk about that real quick as we close up because I think it's such a unique model that I doubt it's replicated anywhere else. It's an investment in people to grow.
Yeah, so Jim, our motto is we protect, sustain, and grow the net worth of our clients. That's what our purpose is. And so, we have a system to do that. That we have a law firm that, we know things legally, we can make sure you're protected. We have a title insurance company, they'll insure your deal. And, we the ultimate goal of this for our clients is to, allow them to grow and prosper. So, we do that. Part of what I think makes us unique is, we're also business people. We're real estate
Hmm.
investors. We do our own development. And sometimes what we do for people, that they may, we don't ever lead with this. It's actually the opposite of what we want to do. We want to have you have the deal, but if we can't get you there, on our own, or advising you, we can even partner with
Hmm.
clients at times, and we'll get them to the finish lines. We want to help people, you know, help ourselves, and we invest in people. Their success is our
Hmm.
success. I think what separates us from some other law firms or systems is we're trying to get the deal done for you. Some people will uh, look at a transaction, for instance, and
Hmm.
they'll see you know 10 issues, and they'll tell their client 10 issues that are going to screw this thing up, or we're resolving those issues
Hmm.
and giving you confidence to go
Hmm.
forward. And so that's what we like to do. We like doing deals. We like helping people with our expertise. We like helping people with our network, and we want people to be successful.
It's not transactional, it's transformational. Where, I mean, what you said is so direct, like how that partnership feels, because it feels like a partnership. I might not talk to you for 6 or 8 months. I'll call you about anything, and it's like we just picked up the phone yesterday or had dinner last night. It's not changed at all because you provide the value without an expectation of return. And then what you end up getting out of it is a return bigger than anything that you could expect because you lead with the value first. You want to help the person first. The side effect of that first like mindset of being helpful is the value that is created for you on the back end, whether it's referrals or other deals that come apart or partnership calls that you get out of that. You help the person first and the value is created second for you. And I think that is part of the unspoken rules of success. It's like you provide a value. The world will serve you the way you serve the world, but you got to serve the world first. Yeah. So if you serve the world with all the good things that you have and all the help you want to provide, it's going to come back to you for sure. I think that's my personal thought. But if you're out in the world just to get from it and not give to it, I don't know that you're going to really get a lot in return. I think it's that give first and then the value will be there. Don't expect it because it won't always be there. But with the model that you guys have built is incredible. I've had nothing but the utmost respect. I think that's why, like from day one of understanding that you're going to pay us at closing to the last few phone calls we've had, and you've set me straight on things and said, hey, check yourself here, check yourself there. But this is also a possibility. Like you're going to shoot me straight with value first to me on the situation. You're not going to tell me what I want to hear. You're going to tell me what I need to hear, and that is probably the most value you could provide someone in the tough moments. Because I'm not calling you asking about how you cook your steak or what's for dinner tomorrow. Like it's complex, it's big, it's high level, life altering potentially. So whenever that response comes back, it's very thought through, it's very valuable. But I think your guys' business model was just incredible. And the fact that you've taken on and provided yourself and your family and created this opportunity says everything that I need to know about Wes as a person. So for that, congratulations, man. Tell everyone where they can find out more about Wes Gillian and the different businesses that you have. Websites,
Yeah.
where's it all at?
So our law firm name is Rudolph Legal. Website's rudolphlegalltd.com. We also have a title company affiliated with us as cardinaltitle.com. That's run by Joe Havens. We have a property management company and an investment company, and that's at rudolphltd.com. And so we have carrying on Jim's legacy.
Mm.
His son Matt is working for us. He does some investing. Joe, like I said, is in a title company, and we're humming. We got kind of a new generation trying to take it to the next level. So that's where you can find us.
It's an incredible story. It really is. We met because of one person, Jim Havens. Let's just have a little shout out to Jim Havens. My God, what an incredible human. He's probably a father figure to you as much as he is me, but definitely appreciate that man and nothing but respect for what you're doing, my friend. I cannot say that enough. I'm going to leave with this, but I heard this, I think it was earlier today, even again, but you never know when you're in the good old days until you left them. And right now, my friend, we're in the good old days. Every day right now has got to be a good old day. Enjoy the process because I can tell you what, it's not going to get easier because we'll create the same level of hard. It's not going to get, navigated a lot differently because it's always going to be up and down. But I can say one thing that is truly profound when it changes is your appreciation for whatever comes your way. And then just being even killed with it, just keep it good. I know that it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be up and down, and it just depends on what way the wind blows that day. But I'm not going to get too up or too down either way. And just keeping that level set. And then don't expect balance. You're not going to have balance. Balance is bullshit if you're an entrepreneur. So I eliminated that altogether. But you can be very intentional with your attention. So when you're in that moment, be there. I'm 100% here right now with you. There's nothing else going on in my life. When we're done, it's the next thing. I'll go home to my family, as will you. Have both feet in, not one foot out, one foot in. be intentional with what you give your attention to. And when you're there, be there 100%. That was the change for me because balance will never exist. And I know that, but I can be fully intentional with what I'm focused on when I'm focused on certain things. Allocate your time accordingly, but make sure that you're not just allocating it on the calendar and not actually being there. Being present is a gift. I think that's what I call gifts presents, man. I really do.
That's true, man. I mean, one of the hardest lessons I learned, or hardest things I had to learn how to do is turn it off. I've finally kind of I can switch things off now. So that's certainly important.
That is a gift right there because I'm still struggling with that. I know when I'm on vacation, normally like day 2 or 3, I kind of forget what day it is. That's my sign that says I'm disconnected from the world. That's my go, but it's really hard. I work at it every day and I struggle with it every day. But nonetheless, Wes, it was a pleasure. I appreciate your time. Proud of you, first and foremost, for
Proud of you.
what you took on. I cannot thank you enough for everything, your support, mentorship, partnership, and what we're doing together. Thanks for everything, Wes. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Jake.
This is another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. Look up Wes and Rudolph Legal, Rudolph Investments, Cardinal Title for all your needs there. This is the man. Take the keys out of your hand, give them to him, let him drive the car. That's my best advice ever. So, Wes, thanks again. Another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. Iron built by this man's infrastructure today, and we're out. Stop telling yourself one day. It isn't about one day, it's about day one. Today should be your day one. What you need isn't another day. What you need is clarity with the community to give you confidence to unlock your greatness. That's what the group coaching program is all about. Confidence, clarity, via commitment. Hit the show link in the notes. Let's start unlocking your greatness now, today.